But what's interesting is that if a Democrat had said anything like that, whoa, I mean, they would be called an anti-Semite, period.
So I understand that Israel is scared and alarmed, and I think it's very reasonable that they would feel that way.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, that has been really the policy that many Republicans have, which is that Israel has a right to kill who they need to kill in order to maintain safety and security of their borders.
Guys, last night on Abby Phillip's show, MAGA pundits were completely defeated when they tried to justify Donald Trump's support for Israel's actions in Gaza and Lebanon. Abby fact-checked the brainless MAGA goons so hard, they were cornered into complete silence. Now, I'm going to play some clips. I'll share my opinion as we go.
Tonight, as a rift emerges between the U.S. and Israel over Trump's Iran deal, J.D. Vance is lashing out, responding to reporting that Trump's Iran agreement with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu took him by surprise, and it sent him fuming. J.D. Vance had a warning for critics of the deal in Israel.
You have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in.
I have to say, I did not have on my bingo card J.D. Vance being the attack dog against Israel for this administration. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, this was quite the week for J.D. Vance, making a lot of headlines. He's a very skilled politician, and he's giving voice to a certain faction on the right who are now blaming Israel for getting America into the war. And I think to an extent that's kind of a straw man, but that is a very vocal portion of the right. I think our interests are far more aligned. We've always known that they would diverge at some point, and evidently this is the point that J.D. Vance thinks they diverge. But I am very sensitive because they are on the front lines dealing with the outcome of this. There's already a report that Iran is promising Hezbollah funds, and they're going to be the ones who are dealing with that far more than we are. So I understand that Israel is scared and alarmed, and I think it's very reasonable that they would feel that way.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, according to the polling, support for Israel has only decreased in the last couple of years. Now, 57% of lean GOPers or GOPers have an unfavorable view of Israel. That's up from 35% in 2022. This is sort of like the Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly view of the world. And it's almost as if J.D. Vance's sense is that Trump is giving him a little bit of space because Trump is a little annoyed with Netanyahu. And so that gives him some space to sort of align himself with that pocket of MAGA. But what's interesting is that if a Democrat had said anything like that, whoa, I mean, they would be called an anti-Semite, period.
That's it. Well, I don't know if there's anything anti-Semitic about what was said, right?
No, they'd just be called anti-Semitic.
I'm not saying it's anti-Semitic. Would be saying that
like rubber your glue kind of stuff.
To be clear,
if Jennings were here, he would say that.
It's an important point. To be clear,
is he?
I am not saying that it is anti-Semitic, but I am saying that for at least the last several years, any critique of Israel, its conduct in wars in Gaza, in Lebanon, how it conducts itself in the region in general has been Republicans have accused Democrats of being anti-Semitic for pointing any of those things out.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to make those kind of generalizations, Abby. I think at the end of the day, this at least puts to rest arguments that the president and this administration are just pawns of Israel and it's really Bibi that's running the show, because we've certainly heard plenty of that nonsense.
That's just what Mike Johnson said.
Well, is he here to defend himself?
Well, that's what Mike Johnson said. I mean, that's what he said the day after this whole thing got started.
Listen, I've thought that was a ridiculous remark to begin with. And this is Trump being a deal maker. Bibi and Israel were in the way to get to this MOU. They were not invited to the table. That got Netanyahu pretty upset to the point that, from certainly the sources I have in D.C., there have been some pretty heated communiques between the two leaders. And I think a line had to be drawn in the sand. They will be brought back into the fold during these 60 days. I would be shocked if Israel and their concerns and considerations were left out completely of the negotiation of a final deal. Once again, this is an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. It is not a final deal. It's not.
There are so many bear traps here. You have many
I can
problems,
give you a few more if you
political problems that just unfolded in just what J.D. Vance said and the dialogue we're having here. Using the terms, we're the only one, the only powerful ally, the only option you have. Obviously, that could fracture international relationships.
Guys, let's talk about the latest twist. Trump has signed a deal with Iran, and Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu is not happy, and he's expressed his anger over it. In a surprising response to that, the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance lashed out at Netanyahu in a recent speech by saying America is the only ally left for Israel at the moment. Guys, what Vance meant is that Israel has committed heinous war crimes by bombing civilian buildings, hospitals, mosques, schools, and killing thousands of children. Honestly, it was a blatant genocide, and almost all big countries condemned Israel for that, except the United States, because the United States has basically vowed to support Israel blindly. And now, because of the rising criticism and pressure, Trump wants a peaceful solution to the Iran war. That's why he signed a peace agreement with Iran, which goes against the dark desires of the warmonger Netanyahu. So Vance came forward and gave a shut-up call to Netanyahu that if you still keep on doing certain criminal acts of bombing civilians, then just like other countries, you're going to lose the support of the United States as well.
At a time when you might want to be building some consensus, that's one possible bear trap. Lydia makes a point, and I subscribe to it, that a portion of the right wanted to hear this. This is not the time on a calendar to talk about portions of your political party. You're less than 140 days out from an election, and you are building in fractures inside your own party. And respectfully, there are very endangered incumbent Republicans who need to have this unifying moment.
It's not unless you're running for president, which is what J.D. Vance is doing. I mean, that's why this is so interesting, is because this is not just the vice president. It's also the vice president who wants to be president, who has to build something of his own MAGA base. And then he goes even further in this interview with the New York Times, where he basically suggests that Israel is trying to kill its way out of problems. Listen.
I don't think Bibi himself has actually criticized the deal, because I think he's maybe a little bit more familiar with the details of what's in it. But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you know, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
Honestly, I think there are a lot of Republicans who would say, actually, yes, they can. That has been really the policy that many Republicans have, which is that Israel has a right to kill who they need to kill in order to maintain safety and security of their borders.
Yeah, I think absolutely Republicans would agree with that. And also, where was this judgment from J.D. Vance before this war even started? It seems like this is a sort of new thing. And I agree that it sounds like J.D. Vance is running for president and is potentially facing a primary and now has to kind of figure out what his space is in the MAGA world in order to make a case to get through a Republican primary. But at the end of the day, I think that what Trump has done throughout this whole term is that he does not care who our allies are. And it seems like J.D. Vance is sort of taking that on as well, where they kind of they don't make friends, and it ends up hurting them moving forward.
Do you think that it will work? If it works for Trump, would it work for Vance?
I'm not sure it works for Vance at this point. Also, I mean, Donald Trump,
Guys, it is a fact that Netanyahu wants continuous war in the region because it is the only way he can fulfill the plan of Greater Israel. And secondly, this deal with Iran is not in Israel's interest, because if the war stops and peace prevails, Israel won't be able to work on its illegal territorial expansions. After this deal, Iran will only get stronger, which is basically a nightmare for Israel. Guys, Trump has basically shown Iran that it can weaponize the Strait of Hormuz, and that is almost equivalent to having nukes. The Iranians have now realized that the world bows to them as soon as they block the strait, because the strait controls the world's economy.
Donald Trump does not. He is not running for president. He does not care. He does not care about the political implications of any decision, including the midterms. He does not care about any of that. J.D. Vance has an entire political career. He is young. He is someone, if he does not run for president this time around, he will run for president next time around. And I think that he is the face of this war now.
I just think that it's very interesting because I've sat at this table so many times and we keep hearing, oh, Trump doesn't care about affordability. I think he cares a lot. And obviously he was negotiating a deal. But even just in the last day, he said, look, I don't want to be responsible for depression. I think he's extremely aware. And I think that's why he made this deal, is because he recognized his base was growing weary with the war, and that's what pushed him.
Yeah, I guess. Can I just say, okay, yes, you just said what I was going to say. Sorry. I do think there might be a difference, right, between I believe that there is an affordability problem, and I don't want to have the legacy of Herbert Hoover. In Trump's mind, those are not the same thing, and that's a real distinction. He does care about how the history books write about him, not so much what the fate of Republicans are going to be in November when they're facing the voters at the polls. Former President.
Well, that's it for today, guys. Let me know what you think. I'll see you again tomorrow with another one.